Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're here today with the Reverend Canon Kelly Brown Douglas, canon theologian at the Washington National Cathedral. In 2017, she was named Dean of the Episcopal Divinity School at Union Theological Seminary in New York. And in 2019, she was appointed to the Bill and Judith Moyers Chair in Theology at Union. Dr. Douglas is considered a leader in the field of womanist theology, racial reconciliation, social justice, and sexuality in the Black church. Prior to joining the Cathedral and EDS at Union, she was the Susan D. Morgan Professor of Religion at Goucher College in Baltimore. Previously, she was Associate Professor of Theology at Howard University School of Divinity and Assistant Professor of Religion at Edward Waters College. A native of Dayton, Ohio, Dr. Douglas was one of the first 10 Black women to be ordained as a priest in the Episcopal Church. She was an associate priest at Holy Comforter Episcopal Church in Washington, D.C. for more than 20 years. She holds a degree from Denison University and a Master's of Divinity and PhD from Union Theological Seminary. Her most recent books are Resurrection Hope, A Future Where Black Lives Matter, and Stand Your Ground, Black Bodies and the Justice of God, both by Orbis Books. She splits her time between New York and Washington. In December of 2022, she was announced as the 2023 winner of the Grawemeyer for Resurrection Hope, one of the most prestigious prizes in religion given by the University of Louisville and Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. You can learn more about Dr. Douglas at cathedral.org. So Kelly, is so wonderful for being able to get together with you. It's always great to hang out, and congratulations again on all of your wonderful work.
Well, thank you. And it's always a pleasure to get together with you, Brian. So thank you for the invitation into this conversation.
Well, to get started, what else would you like people to know about you than all these different things that I touched on?
Oh, I don't know. I think for me, the most important thing is that, I just keep trying to live into the faith, to partner with God, to try to create a more just future and try to do that humbly and fail forward, because I fell many a time, but to fail forward. And so, just to do the work.
Good, good. So we're here to talk today about a new program called Raising Kids for Good, a soon-to-be nonprofit seeking to provide positive, inclusive spiritual family resources for families and churches in an attractive, compassionate, welcoming, and sustainable environment. Raising Kids for Good consists of a large ecumenical group of volunteers that includes pastors, authors, mental health professionals, professors, parents, attorneys, and other interested individuals working together to raise awareness of the many excellent existing resources that can be very helpful to caregivers and church leaders, if only they can find them.
Right.
We've not yet formally announced Raising Kids for Good, but many of us has been working on this project for several months now, and Kelly has been a great supporter of this effort. So maybe, Kelly, you can talk a little bit about why you support Raising Kids for Good.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on launching this project, because now is the time. We're at this sort of time in this country where we have to make a choice, truly make a choice about the kind of nation and people we want to be, the kind of future that we want. And it's very clear the future is all about our children. And, it's about the way in which we nurture and raise our children so that the future they create and that they are a part of is better than the present that we have created, right? So we have to be concerned to raise our children in such a way that they are better than we are when it comes to treating every single human being with the kind of sacred regard that they indeed deserve. Because every single human being that has breath, or has ever, for that matter, has breath, carries forth the very breath of God that gives us life. That means that every single human being is a child of God and ought to be treated as such. But we know, Brian, that we are living in a time where that's not the case. And so we have to indeed make sure or help that we can foster the kind of future where that is the case. And that begins with how we teach our children and what we teach our children. Let me say this and here's what we know for sure, or here's what I know for sure. Children do not come into this world hating.
Yeah, really.
They don't.
No.
Children do not come into this world as miniature little white supremacist bigots. They don't. We teach them that.
Mm-hmm.
And in as much as we can teach them that, then we need to resist that kind of teaching by teaching them what it means to be humane and to use their breath for good and not to take the breath of another away.
Well, at least the good news is that, if we go back to the real fundamental of what Jesus taught us to do, we can be very consistent with that, right?
Yes.
And create products that don't have some of the deficiencies of so many resources that have been published in the past.
That's right.
For, children's churches and families and stuff that have got, a lack of diversity, a lack of inclusiveness, toxic theology, all kinds of things that, as you said, have taught people the wrong things, right? The hate, the bigotry, the white supremacy.
That's right. And sometimes, just as you're alluding to, it's not that we teach that directly, and that I dare say that one would not go into a church, or at least it would be rare to go into a church or a religious institution where somebody is espousing the direct hate of a community or group of people. Now, as I said, so when it comes to certain people in certain churches, that is not the case. But, what we most often see is this kind of hate and bigotry and xenophobia being fostered through what the stories we don't tell, through what we don't say, through the images that are not a part of our religious institutions. If you want people to treat the bodies of people of color as sacred bodies, and you have to have the iconography and symbols and religious symbols in your church that reveal that those bodies are sacred, that those bodies also convey the image of God. If you want to teach our children that everybody's story and experience is a valuable story and experience, and that they can learn from it and become better by it, then you have to include those stories and experiences in the stories and experiences that we tell and that we cover. And we don't simply learn how to be good from, quote unquote, from learning about good stories or the good history. Sometimes, and most often, it is the case that we have to move to those uncomfortable spaces so that we can learn, well, how did we fail here? What's wrong here? How do we get better? How do we become good? And so, it's often the stories that are omitted, the experiences that are omitted that create the environment for hate, bigotry, mistrust, fear. Howard Thurman said once that stereotypes and fear emerge when people are separated one from another. Then I, of course, paraphrase him. He said it much more eloquently than I'm able to say it. But The point of the matter is that when we engage with people and stories that are different from ourselves, we then provide the fertile ground for people to see one another as the sacred human beings that they are and to treat them with compassion. And that's that's the heart of good, right? The compassion that is kindness, the compassion that is graciousness, the compassion that is just, the compassion that is love.
Well, fortunately, because of my recent work in publishing in color and writing for your life, I got exposed to a lot of Christian children's books and was so surprised that until recently, the number of characters of color in those books has been, dramatically low. The number of books written by people of color has been dramatically low. And, the industry is beginning to deal with those issues, but, it's a recent phenomenon and it's still an emerging phenomenon.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
so being able to, kind of identify those resources that don't exhibit some of the, people left out is just one dimension, but, other kinds of deficiencies really, I think, is much needed.
Yeah, no, that's right. And the every year or every and if not every year, every so often the Association of Library, whatever, does a study that
Yeah.
indeed speaks directly to this. And it is always surprising of how few books there are where there are not only children of color, not only children that reflect the diversity of what it means to be gendered, the diversity of sexual expression. Not only are those books limited in terms of reflecting that kind of diversity, but even more limited when they become the main characters of the stories, right? As opposed to the add-on characters, even more limited when those stories are being told from those children's perspectives. And so you are indeed right that we have to begin to really be intentional, because at the same time that perhaps more of these books are emerging, we are also seeing emerging a more vibrant movement to keep those books out of the hands of our children. And that's no accident, because we know if we can keep those books out of the hands of our children, then indeed we can maintain a status quo that is, well, very white, very bigoted, very xenophobic, let alone heterosexist, etc. And so this is why a project like this becomes so important, because there is a movement that indeed, it won't say that it's raising our children for, well, not be good or for being unjust, but the very actions, indeed, we know will not foster the kind of goodness, if you will, that this project is trying to inculcate and to foster in our children.
So, as we go through the launch and growth of Raising Kids for Good, what would be your hopes for the program?
Yeah, I just hope that a program like this can reach into those communities where actually it's sort of most needed, not, and these are those communities of children that will be, quote unquote, protected from the kind of stories, the kind of experiences that may, as some say, make them feel uncomfortable, but I think not. The kind of stories and experiences that are unlike their own, so that they can develop what I like to call this empathetic capacity for treating all persons as, well, the golden rule, as good as they would want themselves to be treated. And we can only do that when we can recognize that everybody, every child, right, every child, no matter their color, no matter their gender, no matter their sexual identity, no matter the language they speak or the country they're from, that every child deserves to be treated good. And we deprive our own children of the goodness that they deserve when we deprive them of the kind of stories and experiences and capacious experience of what it means indeed to be human.
So what advice would you have for those of us working on the project?
Oh, just keep going. Really, just keep going and what a project. And it's a project whose time has long since come. And keep going and fail forward.
Excellent, excellent. So I also have to ask you if you have any future books or projects of your own that you want to share with people.
Brian, yeah, for me, my books always come through my own experiences and struggle and the way in which different questions of faith, if you will, come. So that's always in motion. So I can't say that, yes, I'm working on this particular project at this point, but I'm always working on projects. So we'll see what's next.
Good, good. Well, we'll look forward to that. So Kelly, thanks so much for joining us. Again, you can learn more about her work at cathedral.org, and we'll have the Raising Kids for Good website available this summer that you can go Google that and find out more.